Imagine this: a president, dressed not in a suit but in simple clothes, walks alone through the crowded streets of his country's capital. His eyes scan the faces of the people, the vendors, the children, the elderly. He's looking for something deeper than problems to solve. He's looking for stories. Then, one day, he finds a story that shakes him to his core. Not in a report or a meeting, but under a tree, in the form of an old man clutching a tattered book. This is the story of Ibrahim Traoré, the president of Burkina Faso, and how a single moment of humanity sparked a revolution of dignity for thousands of forgotten heroes. It was a hot, dusty morning in Ouagadougou. Ibrahim Traoré, the president known for his humility and love for his people, had finished an early meeting. Instead of rushing back to his office, he did what he often did. He walked. No security guards, no cameras, just him and the streets. He believed leaders couldn't truly understand their people unless they walked among them, listening to their laughter, their struggles, their silence. As he passed a busy market, something made him pause. Under the shade of a neem tree, an elderly man sat on a wooden crate. His clothes were faded, his shoes cracked, but his eyes were glued to a worn-out book. Traoré froze. The man's face, those sharp features, that intense gaze. It was Professor Adama, his high school philosophy teacher. The man who had taught him about justice, courage, and the power of ideas. The same man who'd once told Traoré, a leader's greatness is measured by how he treats the weakest, not the strongest. Now, that same teacher looked weak, broken. Traoré approached slowly, his heart pounding. "Professor Adama?" he said softly. The old man looked up, squinting. For a moment, he didn't recognize the president. Then, his eyes widened. "Ibrahim, is that you?" He tried to stand but stumbled. Traoré caught him, shocked by how thin his arms felt. "What happened?" Traoré asked, his voice shaking. Adama sighed. His story was simple but heartbreaking. After retiring, his pension, the money he got each month, was too small to survive. Rent prices soared, his health declined. He sold his furniture, then his books, then his pride. "I kept this one," he said, holding up the tattered novel. "Stories. They kept me company when people didn't." Traoré's eyes filled with tears. This man had shaped generations of students, doctors, engineers, even a president. Yet here he was, abandoned by the system he'd served. Without hesitation, Traoré took Adama's hand. "Come with me," he said. He took Adama to a nearby bank. The manager, a young man in a crisp suit, nearly dropped his coffee when the president walked in. Traoré didn't mince words. "Open a special account today for retired teachers. They deserve better pensions, healthcare, housing. Start with Professor Adama, now." The manager stammered, "But sir, this could take months. We need approvals, budgets." Traoré leaned in. "Do you know who this man is? He taught me that a country's strength isn't in its money or armies. It's in its people. Starting today, we honor that truth." Someone in the bank filmed the moment on their phone. By afternoon, the video had gone viral. People across Burkina Faso shared it with messages like, "This is my teacher," or "My grandmother was a nurse. She needs help too." Hashtags like Unsung Heroes and Traoré Cares flooded social media. But Traoré didn't stop there. He launched the Unsung Heroes Initiative, a nationwide program to support retired teachers, nurses, farmers, and others who'd spent their lives serving Burkina Faso. The plan included higher pensions adjusted for inflation, free health care for retirees, safe, affordable housing for the elderly, community centers where retirees could teach skills to young people. Critics complained about the cost. Traoré responded by inviting them to meet the heroes they called too expensive. He took politicians to rural villages where retired midwives showed them clinics with no medicine. He brought bankers to meet farmers whose hands were twisted from decades of labor. Look them in the eye, he challenged, and tell them they're not worth it. Meanwhile, Professor Adama's life changed. He moved into a small apartment near his old school. Doctors treated his health issues. Best of all, he started tutoring kids again, for free. My body is old, he joked, but my mind still has lessons to give. Students flocked to him, not just for schoolwork, but to hear stories of Traoré's days as a rowdy teenager. The initiative spread like wildfire. In one village, retired teachers turned an abandoned building into a library. In another, elderly nurses taught teenagers how to care for sick family members. Farmers who'd once struggled to feed themselves now grew vegetables for school lunches. "We're not useless," said one grandmother. "We're libraries of life." But the biggest change was in how people saw each other. Grandparents were no longer ignored. Kids asked elders for advice. Communities held feasts to honor retirees. "Before, we called them old people," said a teenager in a TV interview. "Now we call them teachers." Traoré made sure the world noticed. At international conferences, he spoke about the initiative. "Dignity isn't a gift," he told world leaders. "It's a right, and it starts with seeing people, truly seeing them." A year later, Burkina Faso celebrated the Unsung Heroes Initiative's first anniversary. Thousands gathered in Ouagadougou's main square. Retirees wore colorful traditional clothes, danced, and shared stories. When Traoré took the stage, the crowd erupted, but he quieted them with a raised hand. "This isn't about me," he said. "It's about a teacher who sat under a tree, reading a book, believing he was invisible. Today, we prove that no one is invisible. Not the teacher, not the nurse, not the farmer. You are Burkina Faso's soul." The crowd cheered, but the loudest applause came when Professor Adama joined him on stage. "Ibrahim," Adama said, gripping the microphone, "you were my student. Now you're my hero." After the event, a young girl handed Traoré a notebook. Inside were hundreds of notes from people whose lives the initiative had changed. "My grandpa can afford his pills now. Thank you. I want to be a teacher, like Professor Adama. We built a garden with our retired farmers. It feeds our school." Today, the Unsung Heroes Initiative is thriving. Retirees aren't just surviving, they're mentoring, creating, leading. Professor Adama still tutors kids, his laughter echoing through his apartment. "I thought my life was over," he says. "Now I know it's a new chapter." But the real lesson is for all of us. Ibrahim Traoré didn't launch a fancy policy or spend billions. He simply saw a man others ignored, and that act of seeing became a movement. It reminds us that leadership isn't about power. It's about looking into the shadows and saying, "I see you. You matter." So next time you walk down a street, look around. Who's sitting under that tree? Who's holding a book, a tool, a memory? They might be a hero waiting to be seen. And maybe, just maybe, you could be the one to remind them of their worth. As the sun sets in Ouagadougou, the tree where Adama once sat now has a small plaque. Here, a leader remembered that every person is a story. And if you listen closely, you'll hear the sound of pages turning, not just in books, but in lives rewritten.